Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present. Mostly large sharks. We'll get started right away. Head over to Hong Kong. First beach, Clearwater Bay. The date, June 13th, 1995. Wong, Kwai-yung, 45 years old. Her and a couple friends are reportedly out swimming. The only information is she was 15 meters from shore in chest-high water, and she was attacked by a shark. They say a tiger shark. Some assume more than one tiger shark, but not much information. They don't even explain who went out and recovered the body, but when they recovered her body, she had her left leg removed at the hip, her left arm was severed, 2 bites to the right leg, and 7 bites to her abdomen. So, you know, that makes people assume or think that there might have been more than one shark involved. Could have been, but we don't know what the coroner ended up discovering when he looked at it. So I think that's all the information we're going to have on this one. It's going to go down as a predation attempt by a tiger shark. Okay, now we're going to head over off the coast of California to Usawis Creek. The date, August 9th, 1975. Gilbert Brown, 44 years old. He and his wife, a couple others, are on a boat. They're heading out to do some abalone diving. And they head over to Usawis Creek. There's, I guess, 2 rocks that are in the water sticking out, and Gilbert jumps into the water and he swims to the middle of the rocks, and now he decides he's going to dive down maybe 20 feet and check what the current and the visibility is. So he goes down there. He says that visibility's poor, very poor. Current's pretty strong, so he decides to abort the dive. So he starts swimming back up. He's only 20-30 feet down, and he says he has his arms out and his head tilted a little bit back looking at the top, and all of a sudden he runs into a rock. So he thinks he hits one of the 2 rocks, but then his arm starts going behind him, and now he's being dragged backwards, and he turns and looks, and his arm is in the mouth of a 14 to a 15 foot great white. He didn't even know that so what he smacked when he was going up was the head of the shark, because although the shark grabbed him by the arm, he has one wound to his shoulder. One tooth went deep into his shoulder, and that's when he thought that he hit a rock, when he smacked his head on it. He smacked his head on the snout of the shark, and a tooth is in his arm, and it's going for his arm, and grabs him and takes him back. So the shark's got him by the arm, taking him back, lets go a minute and grabs him by the wrist. He grabs onto his iron that they stab with the abalone with, and he hits the shark in the belly twice, and it lets him go, and it leaves. He gets up at the top of the water. They take him in and get him all fixed up. But like I said, 4.5 to 5 meter great white, not an attempt to consume, just an attack, and just went away. I don't think it was going to do anything either. Anyway, and what it's going to get in the arm, a lot of bones. There isn't a lot of meat there, so I don't think that you'd be in trouble there. That's like a foot. You grab a foot. You know, a shark, the great white grabs a foot, they ain't going to feel much meat go into their gums, and you're probably going to be okay. So, not a case of mistaken identity, I don't think. It's just a shark grabbing onto him to see if it wanted to eat it and decided not to. So, we'll put that down as an attack and not an attempt to consume. Okay, now we're going to stay over off the coast of California at Conception Point. The date, June 23rd, 1975. Rob Rebstock, 23 years old. He, his brother, and a couple friends are heading out to do some scuba diving at Perch Rock, which is at Conception Point, and they're heading out, and they run into a charter boat, a dive boat, and they slow up and they talk to the captain a little bit, telling him they're heading over there, and the captain advises them he wouldn't go into the water doing any diving over by the rock, over by Perch Rock. Must have saw a great white, a large white over there, and for some reason, the guys thought that he said that it was safe to go, so they continued their trip over there. They get to the rock, and it says that with their boat, they did a couple tight turns on the rock, probably checking out the area. Then they anchor off, and Rob goes into the water first, falls off, and he swims out. Now, his friends are handing him gear, and just a minute after he's into the water, he's only about a meter from the boat, they're handing him the gear, and a minute after he's in the water, a 19-foot great white comes up from underneath him, full bore. This is one of those mistaken identities. Grabs his legs, lifts him up out of the water by his calf. They say it gets him out 1 to 2 meters, and at the height of the jump for the shark at the breach, it released Rob. So at the height of the release, The shark did a backflip. It released him, but it flipped back so that its nose would go back into the water. So it did a total backflip, but it sent Rob, they said, from the front of the boat to the back of the boat, and you're talking over 3 meters, so it threw him in the air 10 feet. They got him into the boat, took him in. He had a bunch of stitches he needed in his leg. It's like teeth marks all the way down your calf, and his calf looks, you know, pretty. I'm 6'1". It looks like it's about my size, so there's a lot of teeth that can go on a calf. I didn't think it would be that much. I'm going to post a link to the picture down below. It'll be a article that'll have a photo of his leg after it's all healed up, but you'll see the scarring on it. And you can take a look at that there. It's intact, no attempt to predation, definitely mistaken identity. And that's our story of Rob Rebstock. Now we're going to head over to Stillwater Cove, which is Sonoma County, California. The date is February 7th, 1982. Donald Smith, he and a couple friends are going diving, and they pull their boat up, they anchor up, and they've gotten over to the line. They're about 500 meters from shore. They're in 50 to 60 foot deep water. But they get over to this dive rope and they start descending. Donald is ahead of his buddy, and he's heading down when suddenly he says he feels a clamping sensation on his leg, a tug. And he says that he thinks that his leg is wrapped into a tow line and that a boat is pulling him. Well, he turns and looks, and, you know, 16 and a half foot great white's got his leg in its mouth. It's got him by the calf and it's pulling him. And it releases after a couple seconds and grabs onto his foot. And after about a few seconds of that, it releases his foot and just swims off. He gets up and gets some help. The injury to the leg wasn't as bad as the injury to the foot. I believe that the foot got pretty mangled up with the teeth going into it, but he didn't get any other problems from that shark. No, I couldn't find out what his friend had seen. I don't know how good visibility was, if his friend ended up seeing that or not, but another strange one where they don't feel any pain. He didn't feel any pain even when he got up on the boat from this one. Same thing with the guy that we just went over that grabbed his arm and took it back. They don't feel any pain from these teeth being 2 inches more into their body. It's the strangest thing with these sharks. So, you know, then we're going to put that on as an attack, no predation attempt. And that's our story of Donald Smith. Okay, now we're going to finish off our unprovoked attacks over in False Bay, Makassar Beach, South Africa. The date is August 19th, 1977. Alec Mamacos, he is out fishing with 3 other friends. They're in a 6.5 meter boat, so a 20-foot boat. They're sitting there fishing. One of the friends gets a fish on the line, and he needs the net. He tells his buddy, get the net and come on over here. And I think the friend was supposed to go straight across the boat to that side and scoop the fish out of the water, but he misunderstood and started heading the wrong way. And right when he moved, about 2 seconds after he moved, about a 9-foot great white, I would say, I'm just judging by the picture I saw, jumped up out of the water. They said 10 feet, landed square in the boat with its mouth landing right where that guy was standing. So the guy was sitting on the other side of the boat from where the shark came in, and now the shark is in the boat, and it grabs onto the transom and starts biting. It rips through the fuel line, disabling the boat. The guy that it was nearest tried to push it with his arm, so he got an abrasive wound on his arm from pushing on the shark. And it somehow, one of the stories I said that Alec Mamacos grabbed it by the tail and tried to keep it from his friend. I don't see that possible. So another one says he just got pinned, got tossed back, and the shark ended up getting its back end pinned on him. And now the shark's just sitting there, just biting on the boat. And he's stuck underneath it, and the friends have to wait to get him out from under the shark until the shark passes away. So the shark passes away. All 3 of them get the shark off of Alec. By this time, other boats that they've radioed to get in because they can't move have showed up, and one of them they're talking to, and they're like, how do you get a shark off the boat? They're like, just remove the hook and toss it over the side. You can't do that with this boat, with this fish. Serious injury to Alec. He ended up getting a crushed pelvic girdle and it ruptured his bladder, and he was in the hospital for 3 weeks after that. The other three, no injuries other than the one getting the skin abrased off of his arm when he tried to push on the shark. The shark, they brought the boat and the shark in, and I'm going to put a link below to the picture of them with they have a crane on the tail and they're lifting the shark out of the back of the boat, but the shark has still got its teeth clamped on the side of the boat. And they said when they lifted that shark all the way up, it lifted the boat out of the water until it lifted it up. It's already dead, but these sharks' jaws will just stay there. So they were able to get that all set. I'm not sure if they ever went ahead and fixed the boat back up, but a little crazy story. And like I said, I got a link down below to that story as well. We'll move on to What Were You Thinking? Okay, now we're going to finish off our show with What Were You Thinking? June 1964, Britt Sullivan, 29-year-old marathon swimmer, decides she's going to swim the Atlantic. I'm not sure whether she's going to swim across the Atlantic. That's what it sounds like. And she disappears on her first leg. She's swimming from Coney Island, New York, and she's swimming to the tip of New York. It looks like a tip that would be the closest thing to cut across to get across to Britain. But she's next to Fire Island, which is halfway in between there, and she disappears between 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night. So first of all, she was going to swim 18 hours a day and rest 6 hours. So she's swimming across swimming across the ocean, and she's got a support boat, a 35-foot support boat. But this support boat was a quarter mile away waiting for her at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So she obviously meets up with the boat, and then it goes up a little ways and she swims to it, and they keep doing this, and she gets out of the water. If there's, like the day before, she got out of the water for a while because there was a school of sharks around her, a large school of sharks. It doesn't say large sharks, so it's probably blues or something like that. Some kind of, well, not blues, but some kind of school of sharks that they'd all be hanging around together. And maybe hammerheads, but they pulled her out of the water, and now she's swimming again, and she's meeting this up at 10 o'clock, 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and has to meet this boat. Disappears. She had on a neoprene outfit that had a light on it that also would not sink, so they didn't find that. And that makes me think that a great white got her and just did her in and took her away, never to be seen again. They'd find something of that suit, I would think. But not only what is she thinking to swim that, because unless I sit home and I'm told I can have everything I want if I swim across the Atlantic, I ain't trying it. Unless there's some big prize, I'm not doing that. And so what were you thinking swimming across it? But what were these people thinking just, the day before, taking her out of the water because of sharks, and then leaving her in there at night and meeting her down the road a quarter mile? If it is even a quarter mile, it could be longer than that. So just a crazy story, a disappearance. We're going to put it down as consumed by a shark, but not a predation. That little bit of a distance, she's a marathon swimmer. I highly doubt anything other than a shark happened. And because of that suit, and because of the light, and the way that it's for flotation, I think she was consumed completely. So yeah, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click like. Hope to see you in a few days for another episode of Full of Attacks. And until then, if you go in that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.